Hey everyone, it's Maury. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I have a card making process here today for the Scrapbook Nerd online shop and blog, and I'm going to be making 3 Christmas cards here today for my video. I'm going to be starting off with a card here using the Doodlebug Christmas Town collection, and this is such a sweet little collection. I'm just going to do a really quick flip through here of the 6x6 paper pad. There's so many really adorable papers in this little pad, and you can see here that they're all double-sided. You can see all the different patterns there, and I just really love the different little images. This one here is just so adorable with all of the little people, and I just really love that. I'm going to be using a couple of the die cut packs here to create my card, and I'm going to be using an A2 card base here for my card as well. And I'm going to be using some of the die cuts from the Chit Chat pack and the Odds and Ends pack, and I'll show you those little packs of die cuts here as I go along. I'm actually going to be using the Studio Cadia scallop frames dies for every one of my cards today. I'm going to be using this scallop frame die to cut out a little scallop square or a rectangle for each one of my card fronts. So you can see there that I'm going to use that really sweet pattern paper from the 6x6 pad for my card front for this specific card. And I'm going to just run that through my Big Shot and get that all die cut. And then I'm just going to continue to create my card from there. So I'm going to just adhere some repositionable adhesive on there and get that stuck down. And then I'm going to take some of those little die cut pieces from the packs and use them to create the little scene on my card front. This is the quickest way to make a card. The other 2 cards that I'm going to make today are a little bit more complicated. So you can see here there's so many die cuts in these packs, just tons of possibilities. And if you want to make a bunch of Christmas cards very quickly, this is your best bang for your buck. So if you get this 6x6 pad and these 2 little die cut packs, you can make a ton of cards. So I'm just going to show you here how quickly this can go together for you. I'm just going to pick out a few of these die cut pieces to create this little scene on the front. Like I said, I'm going to just embellish it with a few of those little snowflake sprinkles, and that's going to be it for my card. I'm going to use a little bit of dimensional foam adhesive on some of my pieces here just to give them a little bit of dimension and pop on the card front to make the card front look a little bit more interesting. And that is all of the detail that I am going to add to this card. So it's super, super simple. It came together very quickly. I wish I could say the same for the other 2 cards. They're quite a bit more complicated and detailed. But I did just want to show you in this tutorial today how you can put some cards together very quickly. So you can do some very detailed cards that take much longer, or if you're mass producing some cards, this is probably one of the best ways to do that, is to have these little die cut packs. Now I did check when I was making this video, the day that I created this, all of the pieces for the Christmas Town collection were still in stock in the shop. Now next I'm going to be working with a Pink Fresh Studio stamp set, and this one is called Squirrel Friends, and it's so adorable. I love the little images in this set as well, and there's some really cute little sentiments in this stamp set. Now what I did was I just stamped out that little squirrel and actually the 2 little squirrels in some Memento Tuxedo black ink on some Nina Solar White 80-pound cardstock, and I'm just going to work away with my Copic markers, coloring in this little squirrel. And this is the little mom squirrel or dad squirrel, whatever, the adult squirrel. And then the adult squirrel is pulling the little small squirrel on that little sleigh. Now that little sleigh I stamped out using some Distress Oxide ink in, I think Candy Apple maybe, just one of the red inks. And if you're not sure what you can use for the distress inks for stamping, the Distress Oxide inks are amazing for stamping out with. I really like them, and so that's what I used for that little sleigh. So here you can see I'm just using some of my W markers W0, W3, and W5, I think is what I'm using here. These are the warm grays, and I'm just going in and tapping in a little bit of color there with little dots just to kind of create the impression of some fur on my little squirrel. This is just really basic and simple and easy coloring here that I'm doing to create the color on my little squirrels. So now what I'm doing is I'm taking some Eclipse masking paper and I'm stamping out my two little squirrels again. I'm just going to fussy cut those out and cover up my little squirrels with that masking paper. And then I'm going to just take a piece of tape. This is Post-it tape. I'm going to just put that across my card here. And then I'm going to take some of my Distress Oxide inks in blues to create some sky. So I'm starting off with tumbled glass. I'm just using my Distress sponge tool here. And I'm just going to sponge on some of that tumbled glass. And then I'm going to go in with some Salty Ocean and some Mermaid Lagoon to create some of the other tones of blue around my little squirrels to create that impression of the sky. So I'm just going to put another little bit of blue on there just to intensify the blue color. And I just really love these different tones of blue. I think it just really looks pretty. And I think that it just to leave it kind of more white in the center there from the reflection off of the snow underneath them. And then I'm just taking some Sparkle Shimmer Spritz and I just spritzed my whole card with that shimmer, and it just makes everything just really sparkle and shimmer and shine. And I just really love that look. Now I'm just taking my Copic fine line marker and I'm just drawing some strings from the little squirrel, the adult squirrel to the little squirrel on the little sled, just to make it look like he's actually pulling that little sled. And then I just took one of the other stamps from the set to make it look like there's a little tuft of snow being fluffed up in the back there. I actually stamped out the little scarves and fussy cut those out. And now I'm just going to stick those on, and each of the little squirrels has a scarf. I just watered down some white paint and I'm just tapping that on with a fan brush. I watered the white paint down and now I'm just tapping it on using that brush in that way. I'm taking my anti-static powder tool and I'm just going to get some of that powder onto my card here because I want to do a little bit of embossing. So I'm just stamping out that sentiment from the stamp set with some VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And now I'm just putting some Ranger Clear embossing powder over top of that black ink. That it's VersaFine Onyx Black ink. And it actually is very slow drying ink, so it's perfect for just putting that layer of clear embossing powder over top and then heating that and melting it so that it just gives a little more shine and dimension to the sentiment on the card. Now I'm taking a black Sakura glaze pen. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm actually taking my white gel pen and I'm just adding a little bit of detail on my card with that gel pen. I do end up taking the black glaze pen later and adding a little bit of glaze to the little eyes of the squirrels. Right now I'm just taking some Nouveau Sparkle glitter glitter stuff. I forget the name of this at the moment, but it's the Nouveau glitter. And I'm just putting a few little dots of glitter and shine on here just to make it look a little bit more shimmery. I just really like that the sentiment says, may your Christmas sparkle with moments of love, laughter, and goodwill. And so I just wanted to make sure that there was lots of sparkle and shine on my card. So I'm just making sure that that's gonna settle down a little bit. I don't want that shimmer to have great big bumpy tops on it. So I just tap the bottom of my card to make that liquid settle out a little bit. Now I am going to add that to my card base, and I believe this card is finished. Now for my third card, I'm making another A2 size card. I'm going to start off again with some Nina Solar White cardstock. I'm going to do some ink blending again here, and I'm going to try to create a night sky here. So I'm starting with shaded lilac, And this is Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going to get that on there with the Distress tool. And once I've got the shaded lilac on there, I'm going to go in with some Wilted Violet, which is a much more vibrant purple. And you can see that it's kind of even more of a fuchsia purple. And I'm going to sponge that over top and blend that. And then I'm going to take some Blueprint Sketch Oxide ink, and I'm going to blend that on. And I'm just going to kind of go back and forth with those three colors and just kind of get the blend that I want there. I'm going to add some more of that lighter purple in at the bottom, a little bit more of the darker purple at the top, and just keep kind of blending it until I have a look that I want. I think I'm going to add a little bit more of the lilac shade at the bottom. Maybe not. This is black soot, so I'm going to go in with some black soot at the top and just really get that impression of the dark night sky. So just keeping the darkest point at the very top of the card, and then just getting kind of like a little bit of the dark black soot on the other areas where it's got the purples and the blues. And then I'm just going to go in there with a little bit more of the purple at the bottom and just blend that up a little bit. So I'm really loving how that is looking. I am just going to add a little bit more of the lilac shade at the bottom. Now I really wanted to add some of that shimmer spritz to this card as well. I just really love how that finishes the card off, and it just makes everything just really sparkle and shine nicely. So, and it's very easy to do. So I just sprayed some of that on. Now I'm going to take a Lawn Fawn Stitch Hillside Border die, and I'm going to cut a little snowbank here. If you don't have a die to do this, you can just cut your paper. It doesn't have to have the stitched edge on it. So I'm going to stick that down just with some liquid adhesive, and I really like how that just creates that impression of that snow, and that's where my little polar bears are going to be sitting as they're looking up at the night sky. Now I'm going to take that Studio Katia die again. You can see I'm using that on all three of my cards. And I just love the little scalloped edge that this adds to the finished card. I think it looks great. And I'm just going to add that in. Now I wanted to add a moon to my sky and the little Santa and the reindeer flying across the moon for the top of my sky area. So I just stamped out with some VersaFine ink there onto that 1 inch, actually that's a 2-inch circle punch die. And once again, I'm just adding some clear embossing powder to that VersaFine ink. And I'm just going to heat that up and melt that. And it just makes it look, you know, just shiny and just makes it stand out a little bit more. So I'm just going to stick all of that stuff away, get that tidied up. And now I'm ready to adhere that onto my card. So just going to get that stuck down there. I am going to pop that little circle, my moon, up on a little bit of dimensional adhesive here in a little bit. And you can see that I've colored my little polar bears and my trees with some Copic ink. And this is just, I've added just a little bit of color there to those images. And you can see that obviously my polar bears, I just added a tiny little bit of gray to them, not too much because they should be white. So I'm just going to now take my Nouveau Shimmer pen, and I'm going to add a little bit of shimmer and shine to some of the areas. I'm going to also add some detail to those scarves with my white gel pen. I'm just going to add some polka dots to the scarf that's around the two polar bears there. And I'm also going to add a little bit of glaze, the Nouveau glaze, to the little trees there. And that's just going to kind of be like, it's very much like glossy accents. And now I'm going to use that same method to add some snow with some white paint to my whole scene here. And so I've watered down some white paint. I'm just going to use my fan brush here and tap that onto another little object here just to give it a chance to just flip down onto my card. And that's just going to create the impression of some snow on that night sky background. Just going to add a little bit more. I just added a little bit more water to my paint, and just to get a little bit more of that snow going on there. I add a little bit of antique linen ink to my moon just so that it's not so stark white. And I'm going to add some Studio Katia sequins here in Shimmering Ice Fusion. I'm also going to add a sentiment here, and the sentiment is from the Winter Skies stamp set. That's the stamp set that I used from Lawn Fawn here to create this whole card, which I think I forgot to mention. And this little sentiment here is also created from the Say What Christmas Critters stamp set as well. And that's going to be it for my 3 cards today. It took me quite a while to make these 3 cards, I'm not gonna lie. The first one was super quick. The last 2 took me quite a while to make, but you can see the difference between a really simple and easy card and then one couple that take a little bit more time with the different details that you might add. Thanks so much, guys, for stopping by my channel today. I really appreciate that you stopped by and took a look at what I created. I am going to leave a link for the Scrapbook Nerd online shop and blog in the description box below, and you can pick up a lot of these different products that I used today in my video over at the Scrapbook Nerd shop. Thanks again for stopping by, and I hope you have an amazing day, and I hope to see you another time here on my channel.